Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talking about home affairs, hey, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Friday Night Debate on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Friday Night Debate, we're going to talk about rape in high places in Liberia, big people raping little children in Liberia, and what the government is doing about it. It's very important. Rape has always been there, but government response is very important. We're going to talk about that. Also, we've heard that presidential villa belonging to President Joseph Newman Boaka in Foyah. Is that true? What is it for? Or, as of today, we are still not sure what this villa is for. The president and his surrogates are saying, just wait and see. This is not presidential villa. It's something else. What is it? Also, there's a noise made about people welcoming former president, current president at the Rabat International Airport. And in addition to that, every time the president goes back home, there is a church service to thank God for safe arrival. Well, some are saying faith is a personal thing. So let President Boaka kneel down at his own house and thank God, and instead of committing state resources to praising God anytime he comes back. Also, we're going to talk about, let's say there is an alleged diamond scandal, and the former justice minister got his hand in it. The Supreme Court put a stay order, but they say, well, there's no stay order, so he may go to jail. Is this witch hunting or blind justice? With me to discuss all this, I have the new progressive icon, Dr. Clarence Pearson. He's our new progressive commentator and author. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being on the show tonight. I want to say hi to my fellow panelists and our viewers and listeners out there. It's a pleasure. I look forward to a great show tonight, Dennis.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Mrs. Alice Welle Momba. Alice, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to having a great debate tonight.
Let me welcome joining us from Winnipeg in Canada, Abdul Boaka Dukle, an Islamic scholar, also a psychologist. He doesn't talk Islam alone. Welcome, Mr. Boaka.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Before this time, he was Abdul Dukle, but the Boaka name started being very prominent when Joseph Newman Boakai came to power. Also among us tonight is the executive director of our own association here in Metro Atlanta, Mr. Bio Brooklyn. Mr. Brooklyn is here for a very important reason tonight. Welcome, Mr. Ed.
Thank you, Dennis, and greetings to all my fellow panelists.
Right, and if you are familiar with the crew speaking, is actually Bio Brooklyn. We say Bio is just trying to be fancy.
The Cree way.
From across the globe. This is focused on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. So before we get into our topic tonight, we will call on Mr. Brooklyn to tell us, he had a good news for us, especially for those of us in the Metro Atlanta area and Liberia. And let me preface that by saying, most of the time, they say, what you're doing. You're always, sometimes people tell you, you're sit down in America, and right after the conference, the All Diaspora Conference, calling on Liberians to do something, to come and play a part. The community here in Metro Atlanta has been doing this, and we just want Mr. Brooklyn to share with us what the community is up to. Welcome, Mr. Edie.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure being on the show. As you notice, I have a lot more time these days to jump on the program. So let's utilize it while we have it, okay? But all in all, you touched on some really important points. And I think during our last program when we discussed organizational strategy, we talked about that. The need for us to be able to identify areas that we can create some impact. That's one. That has always been a part of our strategic roadmap. And it's something that it takes some time to develop, but we can now see some of the fruits being born. The second thing is that principle or concept that we should always we should recognize that we're in a country with enormous resources, and Liberians in the diaspora possess collectively quite a bit of resources. We channel those resources to Liberia on a regular basis. But in all the meetings that I've been in recently, in all the conferences that I've been in, there's always a talk about how can we channel towards a specific goal, right? We do send resources, but how can we channel it to target some specific issues? That's where we find ourselves today. One of our key strategic pillars is health and wellness, not just for Liberians who reside here in the US, but what can we do for Liberia? So we always have a budget line item to cater for our sisters and brothers back home. We have been fortunate enough to work with some of our strategic partners to source some medical supplies, I should say. And the impetus of this is these people do a lot of research, and they're able to identify problematic hotspots around the world. So, for instance, you might read on the internet or in the papers about some infectious diseases popping up all over West Africa. So the issue is, okay, so we live in a country that can be somewhat vulnerable to these kinds of pandemics. What can we do to shore up our people just in case something is on the horizon? So we were able to work with them to source some personal protective equipment, including protective gowns, face shields, your regular face masks, and protective bed coverings, things that you would need to protect yourself in the instance of a infectious disease outbreak or pandemic, if you will. So we've been able to source pallets of those materials to ship. We even were able to source some surgical materials, including syringes, scissors, gauze, and various materials used in the operating theater. Some pallets of those, and then some orthopedic materials as well, and prosthetics. Nowadays people don't often use the plaster to cast you if you have a bone injury, right? Typically they have these plastic, very sturdy plastic boots and rigid plastic devices that you can use for arm injuries, leg injuries, and whatnot. We were also able to source some of that. And so we're really excited. We're able to fill up an entire, and I sent you some pictures, an entire 40-foot container, filled it to the brim with these materials. And it's going to be on its way very soon. So the question is, how do we pay for this? We crowdfunded the payment of the shipment. The shipper, in fact, waived their fee, their regular, service fee, and we were only paying for the actual transit fee with the shipping line. And so, members of the community, even members of this call, thank you, Miss Malba. She was one of our donors. I was waiting for that big check from Dennis. It hasn't come yet, but it's not too late, Dennis. It's not too late. I just want to say, it's not just Georgia. It's not just a Georgia thing. There were Liberians from all over the country who were donating to this effort to get these materials to Liberia. So thank you so much for the time. I just wanted to showcase this as an example of what we can do when we work together.
Thank you, Mr. Brooklet. Just to so again, thank you for 40-foot container.
Yes.
Let me. Yeah. So you kind of listed what in those. So do you have an idea the cost of everything?
The team is working on that. The team that sourced the materials for us, the list was submitted to them, and they will have a cost, but it's pretty significant. I think well over $20,000 worth of materials in there, but there are some items that they really need to work hard to cost out, and they're working on that.
And where specifically, do you have an idea now specifically where these things are going?
Yeah, so the materials, we've been in discussions with the government of Liberia, saying that those in the diaspora, we want this to be our contribution. And by the way, it's not a one-time thing; it's just the first one. But we intend to do this on a regular basis as resources permit. The goal here, Dennis, that we shared is that we want to be able to support underserved clinics, health centers, and hospitals in Liberia, because the word is that a lot of people ship materials to Liberia, but oftentimes it's for specific hospitals that maybe they have a relationship with, maybe through a church, or sometimes people support, friends or families, facilities and whatnot. And depending on proximity, a lot of facilities get the lion's share of resources, right? So in Monrovia, big cities, but the true need is in the interior, in those far-flung places. And so this didn't happen overnight. We've talked to people from what is Dr. Chris Duboyan's organization, National Health.
Yes, MPhil, Public Health.
MPhil, yeah, Public Health. Talk to people from the Ministry of Health, and I talked to people, from the Ministry of State, just trying to get a feel of where the need is. And the understanding we have is that this is something that the government is conscious of, and they are going to channel those resources to the most needed the healthcare facilities that most need the support.
Thank you. We got so those are. Thank you, and we want to thank the community and all your donors. You know, anytime there is something in Liberia, they say, "Oh, so did your they say, okay, this person, or how they say the language in Liberia." So did your predecessor, your predecessor source it, and then you. But if I can get any comment from any one of you, especially our nurses here, if you have any word or any comment before we let Mr. Brookler go.
Well,
Let
Mr.
me welcome
Brookler,
Glendy, the Chan Mom, joining us, and also welcome Elliot.
Mr. Brookler, I'd like to thank you for thinking about, sending those medical supplies. They are very important back home. There are some other hospitals and clinics that do not even have gloves. So can you imagine playing with sick people with bare hands? I just hope that they will reach those that need them most. Because people always say that I have sent medical supplies before in my home county, but I'm not sure, those that needed them really benefited from them, because there's blankets and towels and, but usually those things are gone home with other people. And so I really hope that the government of Liberia will pay keen attention so that they don't end up in private clinics after you donated them to the hospitals. But thank you again for the idea, and they will benefit Liberians in a positive way.
Absolutely, and we have assurances of that. That's why we wanted this to be above board and have visibility at the very highest levels. It's important that we all work together to ensure that accountability is achieved across the board. And there are folks from my organization who are planning to be in Liberia when the items arrive, and just interact with local officials and get that assurance of where these things are being applied. Because, like I said, I don't want to disclose too much, but this is just a tip of the iceberg. There are a lot more resources that have been earmarked and will be allocated. So it's incumbent on the government to show, that these resources are being applied in the right place, to give encouragement to those on this side who are sourcing to have the confidence to do more. And then we'll reach out even more. There are even organizations that want to, pretty much cover the cost. There's not many people who will see this operation and not try to help in some way. Even hospitals are all wanting to come in on the movement. So let's continue to spread the good word. Let's continue to spread the positive impact that we can create from the diaspora, and see how that goes.
Thank you, Mr. Pio.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Dennis, I have a couple of points I would like Mr. Brookler to just comment on, if you don't mind.
If you can do that in like 65 seconds.
Sure. So thank you again. I think this is a worthy venture. I know this is not the first, like others have said, and this is not going to be the last. Some of us have even tried this before. But I would just focus on transparency, accountability, outcome, and sustainability. And to help you with that, what I would say based on experience is that it is important, like when you say a shipper waive their fees, it's important to know what the cost of the shipment is, along with port clearing charges, and include all of that in your final data as to what the cost for that project was. Another thing I would like to stress to you is the issue of the end user, like Alice mentioned that. Now, I've had situation where I worked with the ERA hospital for like 5 years. All right, and one of the things I saw in the healthcare field is that, like Alice said, you have items that go to Liberia with good intention, but then once it is not getting to the end user, the people who should actually benefit, out of the people who like trying to help and supply you with the items. So send Liberia, they lose confidence or they lose momentum, and then this is not sustainable. It just lose wind. So I would strongly advise you. I know you smart young men. You guys are playing behind this. I would advise you, if it's possible, earmark institutions like you mentioned in communities that's already hard to get these services, and partner with them in a way that your items are separated from what government provides, if it is a government entity. And if it's separated, then your items being serviced to the population is either classified as free. If you want to attach cost to it, then you tell the facility they can put it in a normal supply, which of course come with certain costs when they do services. But if you want to help your people and you want it to be free, you have to say clearly that the items are meant to be used for free. And so then that will add a fee into the service charge that they're putting on the end user. Or you have a control system where, like my experience, that will tell you go buy your own gloves because there's no glove in the facility. So go buy your own gloves and bring it for delivery. Put in your delivery bag. So instead of going to the pharmacy to buy the glove, they go to your little depot that you got there, and then they source the glove and then put it in the bag and go to the delivery hall or delivery wall. Stuff like that. There is a bigger picture, but I just gave you an idea. And last but not the least, I know there will be other views that will come up. I beg you, if as much as possible, try to have a way to count who benefits from those supplies. For example, if that pregnant woman, maybe 25 pregnant women benefited from the supplies you sent, and let that number reach you. And then also see if possible you can track that number on paper in terms of writing from the hospital end, or video or testimony or whatever the case is. That will motivate those who supplying you from this end. Thank you.
Thank you for your advisement.
Thank you, Mr. Brookler, and let's please feel free to come back and let's see what happens, who gets what, and if so that we can assess the impact that Focus on Liberia 2 is making by being a part of this venture. God bless you.
Absolutely, Dennis. Thank you very much, and have a great day, everyone. Sorry I have to run.
Thank you. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Brookler. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
All right. We want to begin our show tonight, and the challenge model, Evers, you were not here. We welcome everybody. Welcome. A lot of things to talk about tonight. We're going to be as brief as possible. We, especially as a group, I want us to talk about this rape, especially when it comes to underage girls, right? It's being reported in the news that it's happening, and the government is taking action. There was one, somebody is in jail, the other person is not in jail, and all these things, and we all read the story. So I just want us to start. Let me start with you, Dr. Pearson. I think we are, your take on what's going on regarding rape. I personally think our government is at least taking some steps, even though to me that's still not enough. But unlike in previous time, rape has always been there, and since under President Salif, it declared non-billable. I think we've taken some steps in that direction. But what's your reading of what's going on now and how the government is responding?
Thank you, Dennis. And that's a very good question, because for the longest I have lived in Liberia, we've noticed that rape is one of the biggest challenges that we have in the country, even post-war Liberia. In fact, the war was worse. My sister, during the civil crisis, nearly got raped right in my presence. My mother nearly got raped in my presence when moving from ELW Junction to Soul Clinic. All right, and then from there to Fendel. I mean, it was just. I mean, we'll say the grace of God that protected my sister and my mother from not being raped, right? And then when we came out of the war, then it's Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf with all of the gender pushing issues and stuff like that, and even making the rape law so rigid. It didn't still help the situation, because I feel there are there are three fundamental issues that are wrong with our country and that we need to fix. One is the social issue. You know, I've had women in meetings tell us in Liberia, it doesn't matter how we treat our girls children home. For example, the child can walk naked in the yard. It doesn't mean nothing. Men should control themselves, or boys should control themselves. The kid can take by in the open on the outside. It doesn't mean nothing. The man should control himself. The woman should control. The boys should control themselves. And some of us were arguing that in as much as people should have self-control, there are social factors that may serve as a motivation for people to carry on bad behavior. For criminal to carry on criminal behavior, there has to be some level of access and enticement. All right, and so you want to cut that down as much as possible. And we made those arguments, and we're trying to tell parents it is wrong for you to allow your baby child to sit on a grown man's lap and then the man telling the child, "You my wife," and all that kind of thing. And then you leave the child with the man sitting on the man's lap and go cook in the kitchen because the man gave you money to provide food. All right, or giving your kids to a man in your family and say, "This is your wife. Y'all can't stay with you, Monrovia." There should be some clearly defined social norms and rules that we should keep our eyes up in our community. Another thing that came up was the clinical aspect, and it will surprise you to know that a lot of our rape cases fall through the cracks because we didn't have a strong clinical evidence gathering format. I'm hearing some of my friends are saying, if you want some of those girls from the ladies from the Ministry of Gender to come on here, I can talk to them and they'll come on your show and you can discuss this further. But I know there are some headways being made in this area, but clinically was a challenge. So a man rapes a child, and the police try to have this man apprehended to take to court, but not much is given to preserving the evidence and to ensuring that this man is brought to court and can be found guilty for the crime. So majority of the time, you find a man committed the crime, but there's no way to bring evidence, to court to have him prosecuted. And so I think we need some clinical support in that area in education. And last but not the least, and I leave this, I'm not a big fan of a rigid law, but I'm a big fan of how we tailor the laws and the social and the clinical dynamics to make this work for us. So for instance, we had a situation, I'm just speaking from experience, Dennis, we had a situation where we went to meetings at the Gender Ministry back in Liberia during early time. That a child is raped in the house, and then the Gender Ministry and the government laws are so rigid that the family members at home are scared to carry the man to court because they feel that if the man goes to court, he might end up losing his life, whether it's a death penalty or life imprisonment, whatever the case is. And so they decide to cover it up. So we were arguing that, a lot of the times when you make law too rigid, people go under what they call they go in the dark. Anyway, so a lot of the family members would not want to submit their children or their cases to court. Even if the case are taken to court, nobody want to come forward to testify because they feel that the bread will not be taken from them, and then the whole family will be left destituted. And we saw a lot of families got broken apart because of that. For the few who went to the law with their cases, and then after a while, the whole thing just stopped. So I hope we can balance all of these intricacies. I'm not trying to downplay the importance of rape, but I'm trying to say we have to have a clear balance so that we yield the results we're looking for. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you. Yesterday, the deputy minister was on there clarifying. But Alex, let me get your perspective on this very, very ugly trend that is continuing in our country.
Well, it's kind of discouraging how rape, in spite of the rigid laws that they have in Liberia, rape continues to happen. But one of the things that I see in the rape cases is that people that are, ordinary people, they tend to go to prison more than those that have the resources and connections. And of course, our people always like to solve issues in a community way, like traditional people. They don't want to take people to court, like Dr. Pearson just said. It's one of the things that undermine, the punishment that's supposed to be received by those who perform these ugly acts. At the same time, those who supposed to go to prison, like the ministers that we saw on video, that they raped 15 years old girl, and police dragged their feet. Up to this time, we do not know where the person is. And looking at argument on the internet, it seems that some people are politicizing the whole thing, saying that, well, when we was there, what did you do? So it's like, people don't look at the gravity of the crime, but they're looking at the political aspects of those that are involved in raping the little girls. So one person is in jail, as we learned, and the other person is not. So why I applaud government for taking stands, a rigid stand on rape, but I think there should be justice in any case that comes up. People will be confident that government is taking stands if justice is distributed equally. But if one person is feeling the impact and other people do the same thing and don't feel the impact, or other people are put in jail and then they disappear from prison because they got connections, it doesn't serve the purpose. At the end of the day, it's the little kids or women who are raped, who are shamed in the community, who people look at to be like powerless. These are the people that are suffering more. Because if somebody got raped and those that perform the act are seen in the community after a few days, or they defy the law and say, well, they can't, they are untouchable, what happened to the family? So the family now will begin to be afraid because they took the case to the police, thinking that police going to do something about it. But if the police does not help, then the family are afraid because there could be retaliation from whoever is involved. So that's why I think the government needs to do more. The only way we can prevent rape is justice to be distributed equally. We cannot do one way and leave out the other because all crimes are equal. I think the government is on track, but they need to do more. We want free and fair dealings in the rape cases.
Thank you. Evans, do you think we are getting somewhere now than maybe the last 2 to 3 years?
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. I think the caliber of people who have been involved in rape and sexual assaults, is probably getting more headlines because they're government officials. But I think it's a social issue. And I put the blame on most of us who are Liberians because, if you live in a community, right, you might have a 16-year-old neighbor or a 16-year-old niece, and you see her frolicking around with this 30-year-old or 40-year-old guy, and nobody in the community says anything. They don't report that person. They don't go to this thing, that they get boyfriend. You see young kids dealing with older men, way older than them. Most people in the community don't say anything about it. Men will hear other men talking about how they gotta live, they gotta live there in such and so place that that they care for. They want ostracize that person from the social group. So it's almost become like it's acceptable within our community, as Liberians, and that's one of the issues that's perpetuating this rape and sexual assault of young girls, because we don't ostracize the people who do it amongst us. We don't shame them. We don't say, you know what, you can no longer be in polite society. You have to be outside of our social groupings. We don't do that. You'll see people still being friends with somebody who ripped somebody or somebody who sexually assaulted somebody. They will still be friends with them. They will still consider them their friend. So there's no social cost because the punitive cost in the justice system is there, like Dr. Pearson was saying, but the social cost is almost non-existent. Almost non-existent. There are people who have been convicted, people who have credible evidence against them of being rapists and sexual assaulters, and they're still in polite society. People call them honorable, people call them sir and mister. So my point here is, in this country that we live in, I always like to, because this is where I grew up, this is why I know best. Besides getting ostracized and stigmatized for being a rapist, if you go to jail as a rapist or a pedophile, The prisoners there would they would do some things to you that you never even thought about in your life. So people who want to rape, they think twice because rapists and pedophiles get murdered the most in prison, and they get sexually assaulted the most in prison. So the point that I'm making here is that us as a society, men and women, we have to protect the little kids. Even if it's our friends, our family members doing it, we have to name and shame them. Now, deterrence is the other issue, right? That the PSA was saying that the laws might be too rigid. You know, the laws are fine; they're actually great laws, but the consistency of the distribution of justice is something that's lacking in Liberia, like you were saying, Wilson. The government don't prosecute and retain these people in custody for a very long time. One of them is because the prison system is almost like a death sentence because you're most likely going to get sick in South Beach or in Central Prison, and you're probably going to die of some kind of illness or infection because the prison system is not is the sanitation is poor. So my point here is we have to build new prisons that can hold people for a long time. I think the minimum mandatory sentence for raping this country is like 15 years. Can you hold a 40-year-old man for 15 years without him getting sick and dying in your hand in prison? Like, bro, most likely not. So sometimes people think that, well, if we put this guy in prison for 15 years, probably won't get out alive because probably going to get sick and die in prison. So for me, I think socially, even in this country, many of us know people who have brought people from back home in Liberia, their little niece, or little, living in the houses with them. They're sexually assaulting these little girls. They're raping and abusing these girls that live in the house with them. How many of us has ostracized them and stopped being friends with them and stop acting like they're polite people? So culturally, we have a part to play as individuals, and then I think that the government has to play a part in building prisons that can hold rapists and sexual assaulters for a very long time, so that it can deter other people from committing these acts. Thank you.
Thank you. And Glendy, I'm coming to you. Or others raised a very important point is the way we treat these crimes, right? I think we had a show here when we hear the name homosexual in Liberia. It's like everybody wants to pick up stones and throw stones at them. But rape, we don't treat it with that same hate. We don't treat it with that same disdain. All right. And so in a way, even the society, we don't look at rape that bad. And if you get to the government side, law enforcement, here, if you are a pedophile, you're not only going to jail, but they will register you as a sex offender, right? And so even for a long time, that's going to stay on you. But in our society, if somebody even raped and sometimes, that hush hush, even if you went to jail, you still can live as a free man. Nobody's afraid of you. You can get the job. You can even be ordained in churches. Glenn, your take.
So I think hello everybody, it's good to be on. I think our society and our culture has probably put us in a place where people, for the most part, think rape may be okay. And so when young girls and young boys were living in homes back in the days and things happened that they complain about, they were told to hush and not to say anything. And so that has transpired throughout the years, that sometimes these things happen and these children don't want to say anything about it for being either considered that they're lying or frown out. Some parents will even know that their kids are being molested by families and they don't say anything. So I think our society, our culture, and growing up has played a lot into the stigmatization today, where people don't want to come out if they've been raped or if they've been sexually molested in other ways. They don't want to come up because they're going to be looked at differently. I think if our society had accepted that this is wrong on the overall, and it's not just only young girls that get raped, young boys get raped also. And if we as a people will get to the place where we recognize that this is wrong and something needs to be done, then of course the discussion will change. You have laws on the book that people are not following. You don't need evidence at the first glance. according to the law. So if someone is accused, you're supposed to arrest that person and they're supposed to be held. That's the law, especially for statutory rape for a minor. So this thing where we're hearing people justifying with the deputy youth and sport minister that, oh, there's no evidence, there's no DNA, there's no this. That's not what the law says. The child is a minor, and if that rape is considered statutory, if he's been accused, the police is supposed to arrest him. And then they're supposed to now see if there's enough evidence to go to trial.
To convict him, yeah.
To convict him and go to trial. But this is not being done. We're seeing two cases where one person has been arrested in jail. In the other case, we're hearing people making justifications. And what is interesting is some government officials they're justifying this. So how do you think our society will change when the people who are supposed to upkeep the law and enforce it, they're the ones, because people are aligned with them politically, they're the one finding reasons to say, oh, they shouldn't arrest him, there's no DNA evidence, that's not what the law says. So it is, for the most part, society has played a part. When you see that women get in the street and we protest for something completely different, we protest for drugs, say no to drugs, but we're not saying no to rape. So the irony of it all is society and where we are. And it's not going to change unless we as Liberians in our community come together and say this is wrong and we're going to speak out against it. But it's kind of sad. Two stories, almost similar. Big people in the government. One gets jailed and the other one is just going around making statements.
Yeah. And Daddy, what do you think is responsible for that? Because we saw this man was accused, and now you have the gender ministry going there taking statement. Police is going there taking statement. They will call somebody who's a victim. You call them back and forth to go to the police station.
It's ridiculous.
In that time, what happens if the man flees or bribe the family because they're powerful people?
Right.
What is responsible for that?
So we have a justice. So you have a justice minister, right? I mean, he should have spoken up by now. If these people are not proceeding according to the law, who is responsible to say something about it? The gender minister. Why are you calling that child back and forth, and by the time you get to the end, you probably would have coerced her to say something different. This is a blatant disregard of the laws on the book as it relates to statutory rape. Yeah. That's just it. Complete disregard.
Mr. Dukley, sometimes we put this on women, that women advocates should be the ones in the forefront. To what extent do men also have to champion this?
Well, I think
starting from our religious groups as well.
I think trying to sort of describe it, or to sort of assign how to deal with it in this manner is not doing justice to rape, Dennis. But you have to be cognizant of how everything, and I mean everything, how everything is looked at in Liberia. And as previous speakers have just alluded to the fact that you have two identical situations almost, and the both are treated so differently. It goes to tell you the mentality that we have now come to normalize in Liberia when it comes to rapes or any other crime for that matter. And it's clear from all indication that, and all what we have seen in this particular case, that this gentleman, Mr. McGill, is exerting his influence and his social and political connections to evade justice. And he has powerful people in places who are helping him to do this. I mean, the laws on the books are very clear. Nothing is ambiguous about what needs to be done, and so what reason there is for this man to not have been arrested in the first place, you know? And now it's almost like they have shifted the blame, they've shifted the burden of everything on the victim. And then let's not forget about the fact that, poverty is a big part of this whole thing, where when these people, when they commit these crimes and they come in, try to influence or try to corrupt the whole thing by, enticing the victim with some money, or the family of the victim with money, encouraging them to withdraw the case or not cooperate with the government or with the police. They sort of coerce them into accepting some kind of a deal. And like Glenn said earlier, then this goes way back, even before the war, where people feel that this individual who is the accused of the rape, he's the one who's doing everything for us. If we go to court, he's going to stop supporting us and all the things that we've just heard. So this is not supposed to be about women advocating for women. No, this is everybody should be. Look, I can tell you, in this province that where I live, everybody is encouraged to report abuse. And in fact, one of the things I like about the rules here is that you as a person, either a social worker, psychologist, doctor, whoever is in position of authority, if any child come and report an abuse to you, you are not to determine the veracity of what you are told. Leave that to the police. You are under obligation to report the matter to the authority and let the authority do the investigation. That's how serious they are about these cases. So to see that Mr. McGill is almost going to a month and a half now, if not a month, he's roaming the street free. The only consequence he suffered so far is being suspended, and even that suspension, it wasn't immediate. It was after so many people had complained that this guy shouldn't be on the job, and all the things that went on. So really, it's not about the women to take up the mantle of this advocacy. No, everybody, each and every one of us, the schools, the churches, the mosques, everybody needs to be part of this sensitization that rape is just as serious as corruption is. Rape is as serious as murder is. Because look, if we normalize this is how we are going to come, where we're going to end up normalizing all other serious offenses or crimes in our community. So, I blame the police for being slow in charging this gentleman, bringing him to justice. I also blame society in general, because look, people almost feel as if to say, this guy is coming up with all these justification. Is coming up with all these, simply because he's not in custody. He's not being arrested, and the police is telling us they are gathering evidence while the guy is roaming the street. I mean, what happens if he goes and abuses another 14-year-old child? How are you going to explain that? So we need to adjust our mindset. We need to look at these things for the seriousness, for the serious crime that they are, and so in part, I don't want to say I disagree with the fact that society has to, you can't speak to the person. You should no. If the person is charged with a crime, he or she served his time in prison. That's it. But he must not be given any leniency before he has served his due to society. Whatever the law describes as punishment, he or she should go through it. I mean, after all, they are human beings. After all, they got friends. After all, they got relatives. So if we as society says, okay, this guy has done this, and we cut him off, we don't have to look at it entirely as punitive. There has to also be a way to help these individuals to rehabilitate, and part of that rehabilitation should come after they have served their time, after they have served their due to society. Then we try to see if there's a way we can rehabilitate them. And part of the rehabilitation process needs to be societal or social, where he or she be allowed to know or to realize that the offense that they have committed is serious, so that they shouldn't do it again. And we heard about the gentleman who raised a little kid in Nimba, and we saw that that incident was not the first, simply because the first attempt or the second attempt, he got away with it. He was not punished. He was not brought to justice. And until when he attempted with this, I don't 8 months, 7 months old baby, because we have come to normalize these things as it's just a normal crime. And sometimes, who knows, if the victim or if the culprit is somebody who is financially able to influence the kid, they would do their best. They will bend backward to try to influence it. And these are the things that needs to stop. It does not matter who is accused, the law must prevail.
Thank you. I wanted to conclude on it. I witnessed in my presence how, as a society, we condone these things. There's this, you living with your big sister as a girl, and it happened to a family close to me. The husband get this little sister pregnant, and guess who fault it is? The little sister.
husband.
So she sent from Monrovia and sent back to the interior where we were.
Yeah,
And that is very common because it's
Yeah.
always the girl's fault.
that's right.
And so that person is sent away. Now, but there are other people saying, hey, this is I had a friend who was teaching at Petma University, and the professors or the lecturers, the teachers, they are going on with the students. It's that position of power. And so the principal of the school authority wanted to take a stand. And the girls came up and said, this is an economic issue. I mean, don't bother with it. This is how we survive. Right? So in a place, so those are all things to look at in that this kind of society. We talk about how society somebody condone it. And another aspect is how people create harsh economic realities, just like we saw in the war, with the CEO, right? So the CEO of CO, a rebel general who rapes this girl, so the girl decides to stay there and get so-called protection and get food. And the same thing has continued, that younger women are being abused, are being molested, and sometimes it may look like consent, which is actually not. But because of economic situation being created, these things, people look the other way. What do we do?
I wanted to say something quickly, Mr. Jai, you permit me.
30 seconds, and then I'll let you do 30 seconds, and then we go to our next topic.
Okay. So I think the difference between the two cases here, and again, I'm not advocating for anybody. I've made my position clear. But I think the first guy, Miguel, his situation is a little different because it's purely, I won't say it's purely based on accusation, right? But this is something that has been complained, I think, by the girl's father, that he was having some sexual relationship with an underage girl. But the second guy is alleged that he was in an act. He was in the room physically with this young lady, and young men from the community had to break the door down pretty much to get the little girl out of the room. So, I'm no law enforcement person, but I think it's about probable cause. It's more likely than not that the person did the crime, so you apprehend them. So I think the second case is more so probable cause, and the first one is more allegations, and maybe the police is trying to find things that really tie this guy to this young girl, besides the accusation that he's been having a sexual relationship with her. I just wanted to put that out there. That's probably why he's not in jail right now as compared to the other guy.
That's the explanation it's giving. I'm not a lawyer, but that's a minor. So if it comes to a minor, you should be. It's almost like those of us who work in these facilities. If you're working there and the client report that this person did this to me, the first thing they do is to separate you from that area, even though the law is not in yet. But to be able to say, don't come to work, you're suspended, even because the person says so that we can investigate. So how well can we investigate in this situation with the deputy minister? how can the police and everybody investigate if he's allowed to be all over the place or go wherever he wants?
Yeah.
That
Can I
will pose
chime
a
in,
problem
Dennis?
for the investigation.
Dennis, those two cases are similar cases, okay? According to explanation from the girl's father, who works as a security officer at the Ministry of Youth and Sports,
Yeah.
his daughter went home and she stayed a longer time out there because she lives with a woman who sells food in front of the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So the little girl took the food to his office and he molested the girl. So this girl was sent to the drugstore or something, and the father, because it was getting late, the father was looking out for her. And when they saw her, she wasn't looking too good. That's how the father asked her where she's been and what happened. And she said, Uncle Miguel molested her. So the same night, the father took her to the police.
Yeah.
And the police, because the places were closed to do the DNA testing, they told him the girl should not have any bath so that they could go there the next day. And the man did exactly as the police told him. And when they took the girl to the place, they did a DNA, it was positive. And the results, the police got a results. So the reason for which they haven't arrested this guy, only God knows that. So there are similar cases. These kids are 14 years old kids, and they should not have one person in jail and have another person on the streets. In fact, he had to walk off his job. He said he was leaving the job, a leave of absence before he even got suspended. That's how powerful he is. So now the father of the girl is in jeopardy because he works as a security officer. Who knows what will happen to his job? The little girl now, the mom cannot sell the kobo, maybe because of the embarrassment. If they don't do anything to the guy who did the act. So if you want to dispense justice, let justice be done to all people. You can't have one person having justice and the other person going around threatening one other advocate on the internet. Says she was threatened by the youth and sports minister, the deputy minister. Why is he still being accused?
Dennis, can I get 30 seconds?
You're 29, please.
All right. So, I agree with the panel on the fact that I talked about the social, clinical, and the law enforcement aspect. When it comes to judiciary putting people behind bars and things like that, because you have to charge somebody to court, but you have to have a charge sheet that explains clearly the reason for which you're charging the person to court, because it must stand up in the face of law. And I think the problem we've had in Liberia is that, like you rather put it, Alice, a lot of the time that the specimen that has to be taken to validate the results to find the probable cause for rape, usually don't stand up in court. Even if they tell you they have it, it don't stand up in court when it's challenged.
Then
So
you
I
release the person if it doesn't stand, but catch them first.
Yeah, they caught him.
So yeah, I'm not arguing that, but again, I want to say this, Dennis. We've had, and I've been in Liberia for so long, we've seen some things happen, right? We've seen people use the rape law to target people falsely and to have them put in jail or lose a job. We have a judicial system that favors few people. Now, let me tell you something. We're only hearing these cases because there are big fish in the fries, right? But there are a lot of people in jail in Liberia who are accused of rape that have never seen the daylight in court. And some of them been in jail for more than 6 months, some of them a year or more than a year. Yes. We're not here about them because they're not big fish, right? Nobody talking for them. So what we're saying in short here is that the system has to be designed in a way that it works, and that justice must be dispensed on don't put in because they're accused of rape, put in jail because they're found guilty of rape. And you should have the ability to be able to. So if we need to do more to strengthen the system, then we should do it. But it is not as easy as just riding on emotions and sentiments and anger and say because it's raping, it's terrible, so somebody goes to jail because they've been accused. We've seen accusations in the past.
But Dennis,
Glendy, I want you to conclude and then let's end with solution.
I'm really baffled by Dr. Pearson. We're talking about what the law says. Don't speak in general terms. Speak directly to the statutory law. The law is very clear. If someone is accused of raping a minor, whether you have proof or not, the first thing to do is to arrest them.
Yes.
And you hold them.
Yes.
While you hold them, then you look for evidence to take it to court.
Yes.
You're speaking in general terms. That's not what the law says.
And it's
That
a non-bailable
guy
offense.
should be arrested already. He
Yes.
should be arrested and in jail. What if somebody will lie on them? It is important that the government or the judicial system follows the law. We get all the other stories that, oh, they don't do this, or they lie on people and they do this. But the law is clear.
Yes.
If there is any cause, if anyone complains about anybody raping someone in the case of a minor, that accused person must be arrested and jailed. That's it. There is no other explanation. Nothing suffice for it. It is very clear.
Glennie, I don't think we disagree, but I would be baffled.
But you're making it, you're saying it.
I would be baffled if you want someone to go to jail because they're accused of rape when the facts are not been determined.
No, but that's not what the law says.
No, Dr. Pearson.
That's not what the law says.
Dr. Pearson, I think the point here you are missing is that just being arrested, that doesn't mean the person is going to jail. But the law states that whoever is accused of statutory rape, he or she must be arrested while the investigation is going on. And that's a statutory crime is a non-bailable offense.
I have no argument on that.
Yeah, but we didn't see that.
Dennis.
So we didn't see that happening here. It's
I
not.
want to move forward. Dr. Pearson, the other guy who is in jail, do they have evidence?
Dennis, I'm not saying people cannot go to jail. I'm saying you can hold someone in detention and establish the facts. Rape is something that presents rape from the clinical perspective. Anyone who is a medical person here, rape presents facts or evidence on hand immediately. Rape is not an issue that you gotta wait 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
We don't need the evidence. We just need him to be accused. The law says if you are accused, that's what the law says. Statutory rape. If you are accused
I'm not arguing that,
minor, that's the law.
I'm not arguing against you on that. I'm not saying the law doesn't say. I'm saying you should be detained and the facts should be established, and then if you form a charge,
right?
But he has not been detained.
All cases have to have merit. So if something is big, one second, please. If a case is baseless and there's no fact,
but
what makes it baseless?
That merit is in court. We don't get to court yet.
Let me say something now, please. Most cases, right? And again, rape is terrible. I don't know this person. I'm just saying by the letter of the law, right? If the police, because the police did call him and question him, right? So he was reprimanded or apprehended by the police at some point. They questioned him, and they did. I don't know if you followed the case. They questioned him, they brought him to the station, and they questioned him, and they released him. Now, based on their policing and their understanding of the case, they released him probably because, in my mind, they didn't think it raised to the level that he should be, arrested. Again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I'm just telling you that some cases it does happen where somebody is accused of something. They arrest them, they have an initial, investigation with the person, and they realize that the case is baseless, and they release that person.
That shouldn't have happened in this instant.
Say that again, Mr. John.
Thank you. No, I said.
Dennis, hold on.
Glenn want you to be specific. Don't say accused of something.
No, it's statutory rape.
Yeah, that's what
that person is not supposed to be released. The case goes to court. If there is no evidence, then they are released. That's the Liberian law.
Yeah, that's the letter of the law. That's what the letter says.
This is not what's happening now, Elvis.
But we're saying the same thing.
I'm telling you that the police released him, right?
You're not saying the same thing.
No, we're saying the same
thing. The police released him. Why are we not questioning the police, right? Why did they release the police? I'm sure they have a reason why they released him.
That's the question.
They have no legitimate reason other than this guy.
To release him.
There's no
Yeah,
legitimate
they even
reason.
arrested him.
All right.
The only reason one can the only
reason
reason you can speculate there is this guy is connected. This guy is a political heavyweight. He's connected in the system, but there's no reason to have him released pending the adjudication of this
Without going
case.
to court.
Duke, is there a charge sheet as we speak after 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Has there been a
We
charge
don't
sheet?
need
You
a
don't
charge sheet for
have to have a charge sheet in this
I'm not
instance.
saying we need it. I'm saying it's been 3 weeks. Do we have a charge sheet?
We
I don't
need
know.
it. We want to
I don't
see
know.
him
I don't know.
arrested in jail.
I don't know. But in this case, it's irrelevant to have charge sheet. It's irrelevant. The letter of the law says, as soon as you are accused of statutory rape, you must be arrested and remain in custody pending the adjudication of the case. So if
We
you go
agree
to
with
court,
that.
and you are found not guilty, but in this instant, that did not happen. The law was not applied according to the way it's written. That's the point. That's the argument we are making here. He should have been arrested, reminded until this case is gone to court. And if he's found not guilty, they'll release him. But why was he not arrested? Why was he not in custody?
That's not how it works. If you're living in Japan, somebody accuses you of
That's
raping
how it
Liberia,
works. That's
and the
the
police
law.
find out that you have never
That
even
is
had
the
interaction
law.
with this person, and they
doesn't
arrest you
happen
and
that
hold you
way.
simply because you've been accused?
We're not going to
Listen,
Listen, it's not a reason to arrest and reprimand somebody.
No, Elvis, listen, this is not for every crime. This is not for every crime.
Right,
This is specifically for statutory rape.
That's what I'm saying. Even if somebody said that you raped them while you sitting in Bapu and the person in Monrovia, and the police come and say, okay, yeah, hold on. I'm just saying, when you say that anybody who's accused of rape should be arrested and remanded, my point here is the police is going to do a preliminary investigation and determine if there's probable cause to hold this person.
The police not following the law.
If the police
You're not a police officer. I'm not a police officer. They release him for a reason. Let's ask the police why they released him.
Speaking on the law does not give any room for that. The law is very clear when it comes to rape of a minor, which is in the case of statutory rape. That person must be arrested. They must be held while the police is looking for evidence to take it to trial. When they take it to trial, if they don't have enough evidence and the person is found not guilty, then the person is released. That's not misinterpreted.
Is that what the police did in Liberia? No.
We have to read the law. I haven't read the law, but we have to read the law.
Yes,
because they say that
that's why it's supposed
just based on the allegation, you should be arrested and held.
There's no recourse. The law is very clear. The law has no ambiguity.
But there are other people that are in jail now. I know some people right in South Beach right now that were accused and sent to jail 5 months now. They haven't gone to court.
Yes, because they're not connected. They don't know nobody in the system.
Right.
Nobody
If
can
you want
help
to have the law, let everybody be treated
I'm not arguing on behalf of the individual. I'm arguing that because say that it's a stupid law if somebody says that anybody accuses you of something, whether or not it's baseless or not, you should be arrested, held, and go to trial.
No. Don't say something. Don't say something. If you say something, it means you are trying to classify it says specifically statutory rape. They are very specific as to what crime is not bailable. They say statutory rape. If you are charged or if you are accused of statutory rape, you need to be reminded. It's very simple. Not any crime. So statutory rape.
Right.
That's why you have a solicitor general, right? Solicitor general will determine if the case has merit to go to trial. If there's nothing there, if it's based, you have to release the person.
Yes, but pending that, he or she needs to be in custody.
But there's no point to go back and forth with Elvis because he hasn't read the law.
Let's move on.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's move
when
on.
Elvin reads the law, then we can discuss next time.
Google the written law of 2005, and then we can read. I don't want us to go too much into that now. I think we spend a lot of time, but it deserves that attention because rape.
If it says that it's a stupid law and it should be repealed, that's not how we work.
That is a shame. Let's talk about the presidential villa. Somebody, Eddie Jaulo, he reported about President Bouakai villa in Foyah. I mean, is that play on word? Villa in Foyah?
That's a ram.
Right. When the news came out, people greeted with different emotions. According to Eddie Jaulo, and when I saw that, I sent him a text. I say, I hope nobody's hacking your Facebook page. He said, that's me. I say, okay. And in that report, he said there is this presidential villa. The people that are building it and everything else is they say it's for the president. I talk to the people. So, and what I'm hearing is, what happened is it can be President Bouaka because President Bouaka is a modest person. Imagine he's been in his same house for 12 years. That's one argument so it can be him. This is not possible. I don't know if anybody heard an official response to this. Please let me know. I've not seen, but I've seen pieces of people say, oh no, it can be. In fact, one of his surrogates said, if President Bouaka wants a villa, why can't he do it in Monrovia or Bowman? Why will he go all the way to Foyah? So, is it possible for President? Another group said this is Mano River project. They didn't say Mano River. They didn't define the projects. Mano River project. Alex, when you heard the news, what came to your mind? The first thing is because the last time the former president said for the condominiums, right? So hearing this, what was your initial reaction?
Well, when I heard that, I said to myself, that's not true, because President Bouaka has a lot of things for the Liberian people that are yet to be delivered. So building villa in Foyah will be the last thing he will be doing for himself, because he's modest. He said that before he ran for office, that he was not the kind of person that would be wasting the Liberian people's money. And so when I heard about the villa issue, I just thought to myself, maybe it's some school or maybe something for government, I guess. Saying in the future, they might want to be decentralized in the government. Maybe it's one of the government buildings that they are constructing, but I don't want to believe that it is for President Bouaka.
And your reason for not believing is because President Bouaka consistently demonstrated that he's a modest person. He wouldn't do that.
That's why he said, yeah, if he could, after being VP for 12 years, if he could say that he was living alone, that means he didn't take money that was not his. So he ended up, struggling for that period of time. And so right now, for him to use 10 millions, I don't believe it.
And what can that possibly be? Because I think what people are not denying is the structure actually exists. The pictures. So what can that possibly be? What did you think of that it could possibly be?
Like I said, I'm thinking about maybe some government building, because
the Ministry of Agriculture.
Maybe some bank or some institution, finance ministry for the county or something, because people are talking about decentralizing the government. And I think to decentralize, you must have some infrastructures that government should be using in those counties. But to think that it is his personal property, I'm yet to, believe that. And I'm still waiting.
If it actually exists and it's a ministry or something that people are wondering why is it that nobody ever heard about it? That it's not.
And that's a surprising thing. If it is for government, even if it is for himself, and he knows that the money, is his paycheck.
Right.
There's no need to conceal it, for any reason. That should not be concealed. So if it is a government building, that will even be applause that he's doing such a great work. So what is the purpose? I read a post from the journalist that they got people guiding the place. What is going on? So even though I don't believe it, but I'm also wondering why the high security, why is it that it is being concealed? So these are things that are running through my mind. But as of yet, I'm still thinking what it could be.
Thank you.
So we're still going to be asking.
Yeah.
Do you think a building exists in Lofa? That something exists in that place? Do you think so? Somebody
Yes,
just doing things.
yes, of course. I've seen videos online. I don't know how credible those videos are, but it looked like little condominiums, right? But almost similar to what President we have built. But in that same tone, right? I'm not even against this. Like I said, in terms of President we have, most people have to be realistic and not naive to understand that when a president becomes president, there are a lot of people coming to you offering you loans. Most likely, what these even senators, mayor senators, and representatives, they take loans far beyond what they can afford in actual cash at that time against their salaries in the future. So the president, if he want to take a loan of let's say $5 million, right? He's the president. He's going to earn maybe roughly that or a little more or less. Well, let's say $3 million. Let's be more conservative. For his first 6 years, he can repay that money back from his salary. He can take that loan as a lump sum and build a big mansion. It's not stealing. It's not corruption. You can take a loan against your salary. It's legal. Senators and representatives do this all the time. They go to bank and take loans against their salaries. So if the president wants to build a villa, let's not forget, Mom Wilson. The president has a better home in Bowman County. What they call his farm, in his wife's hometown in Bowman County. That's way better than the house they've been living in rehab for many years. Dr. Pierce know that house. I know that house because I spent time in that area. And we all know the vice president has been living there. He's been going to F5 tests for the longest. We know that, right? But he has a way more opulent and better home in Bowman County. So he's the one thing I'll give him credit for, he's not ostentatious. He doesn't show his wealth or the things that he gets. He doesn't show it off to the people in Monrovia. But he has a big farm in Lafayette County that's well built, very spacious, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody should fool you.
So which one now? Talk about the one we're talking about now.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you, because in your mind you think it's out of his character. I'm just telling you that he has splurged on a home before. It's just not the one that you see in rehab. And secondly, even if he does build a home in Foyah and it's really nice and really big, he's a president. If he can come out and tell us, oh, I took a $2 million loan against my salary in the next 5 years, he can do that. It's not corruption. Unless you can pinpoint that he stole money and then went and built these things, then I'll be against it. The same way they did with President Weah.
So Ellis, what do you think is going on? What do you think that is?
I think it's like trying to play catch up. This is just my speculation, right? One of the things that people say about President Boyga during his time, he didn't do much for the people in Foyah, the people in Lufa, especially where he came from, right? And people like Thomas Fala, who went there, was building town halls and things like that, was really bringing development to that district. Then the president now wants to bring, play catch up. He's trying to bring as much development in his, his backyard, so to speak, than he did as 12 years, as vice president. And I think he's trying to show the people that he's willing to build for you. Maybe those things that I saw, maybe I don't know if it's the villa that they're talking about. It looked like maybe rental property, almost similar to what President Weah did. I mean, it's like the copying what President Weah did. Is like little villas, like I think maybe 6 of them, adjacent, opposite of each other. So it looks like it might just be rental property. I don't think it's something that he's going to live in, but it's similar to what President Weah did. And I don't think there's any signs or evidence that this is stolen money or that the president did anything wrong by building these structures.
Even if he kept it secret. Well, Mr. Dugley. Mr. Dugley, you are muted. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Dennis, for me, the issue here is, unless if the president or anybody from the unity comes out and say, no, this is not a villa for Joseph Boakai, or they should unequivocally deny that he's built a villa, I have no reason to say that it's not his. So when the report first came out, initially, according to what we read, they were denying it. They were refusing people access to the building site until we were able to see the structure themselves. And I don't know, somebody said that it's being built by Joseph Barker's son. It doesn't even matter. But why is it that they are not coming out and deny the flood and say, no, it's not Joseph Barker's who is building this? Simply because with the cost associated with that construction, he cannot justify building that money if it's not an ill-gotten money. And we all know that. So why is it that he has not come out and flatly denied it? If at all, it's not his. Because in my estimation, George Weah came, he built those condominium, and so he is building this whatever it is that he's building in Foyah. So and one of the things that resonated with people was that with all these 50 years of experience in government, he doesn't have anything to show for it. And people bought into that and they voted for him. And now this. How do you explain this? So I mean, as much as we try to be cautious, but if you speculate that it is his, I don't think you'll be far off. So and they have not come out to deny that it's not his. And this has been going on now for more than, I don't know, a month or two, and we have not heard any denial. So what are we to make of it? It's his until he comes out and denied it. I mean, we have to pin it on him. But again, Dennis, don't forget, I'm pretty sure deep down somewhere, Joseph Walker is keenly aware that second term is not something that looks certain. So he wants to make sure that he covers all his bases. So when he leaves after one term, he knows that he's comfortable. I mean, just like we've seen from Ellen, George Weah, and now Joseph Walker, Dennis. There's nothing different here.
And don't forget, the president also has a rental property in his disclosure. He has to have a rental property in Monrovia. So he's a wealthy man. He has properties.
Thank you. Glendy, you know, when we're growing up, they say where there is no EFBC, here they say take over. That's what Bwaka is saying. I mean, I'm talking about the small Bwaka, not the President Bwaka.
So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is wrong. This is absolutely wrong. If there was nothing wrong with building a presidential palace, then the citizenry should have been informed. Why are we hearing it in secret, bits and pieces? Why is someone going to find a site and then come and show a picture? Why has the government not spoken on it? This is wrong. We condemn President Weah for coming to power and building homes quickly, and President Bweka is following suit and doing the same thing, and we must condemn that.
But Glendy, we're not sure.
I'm just responding based on what you just made a proposition. Here, they say me is true.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't hear, the thing about it is, if it's been more than 24 hours since this story has come out, Daniel Sano, the deputy, I think, at Information Ministry, made a statement that this is a Moderator project.
Okay.
People from Moderator are coming out and saying, no, this is not a project. Few months ago, we first saw pictures about this site. Now we're seeing it. $10 million? When you have the University of Liberia that needs $10 million and you're putting it on a presidential palace in nowhere else but Foyah, and you think the optics are good, it's wrong. The optics doesn't look good for the president or for the government that at this time, not even 2 years, you're building a presidential palace. How does that differentiate you from George Weah? How do you look better than George Weah by doing that? You're doing the same thing. You can't do that. And you cannot continue to run a government in hiding. You got to be transparent with your people. If it's a presidential palace, nobody's saying he shouldn't have that. If you have the funds for it, build it. But when you hide it and people have it, and people find out that you've hit it, and now it's out, then we will give our opinions about it, and it's wrong. Completely wrong that they're doing that. There is no need to build a presidential palace now. Absolutely no need. Joseph Bweka has a home in where he is, where he's been living. He's renovated it. Now he has a presidential palace. Tell me what's differentiates him from George Weah. How does he look better than Weah now in 2 years? So we should not sugarcoat some of these things. They're blatant. They should not be happening, and they're just wrong.
Thank you. My everywhere reporter visited Foyah and not Foyah, Bopolu, And they show they call that presidential what, where the president goes there and stay. So I was thinking, I mean, we build these presidential palaces in these counties, right? And within the 6-year presidential term, maybe the president will go there one time. The last time President Weah was in River G, and he was blasting at the people where there's no presidential villa. I'm like, even if they have it, so if the president is not visiting, what else do they do with it?
He still didn't build it.
Yeah. So a presidential flat, a presidential villa, why would President Waka in his 80s need a villa at this time? Maybe just if that's your own money, fine. But if you didn't build something until you became president, what do you get paid? I mean, the last time we described the pay people get in Liberia, especially the top 1%, legalize robbery, because you can make all that money. But let me hear from the neo-progressive commentator. I know Cummings will not do that.
No, President Cummings in waiting will not do that. But this is what, for me, there are a couple of things on here. I'm one of those who believe Liberia is very much underdeveloped. And I would like to see our country develop. And I'm not speaking about urban areas like Monrovia, Buchanan, Kakata, Banga, Kanta. I'm talking about rural areas. So when I'm hearing that quality development is taking place in Foyah, I'm happy. Quite frankly, I'm very happy about it. It's part of the decentralization perspective that we can see our country remove itself from thatches and mud to start seeing some modern structure come up in places that we've overlooked for over 100+ years, going to 200 years now. So I will be happy to see that. Another thing I want to be clear about is that in as much as I want to see that, then I want you to be honest with me about the finances. Like, are we budgeting these things in our national budget as developmental inputs into the budget? Because these are some of the arguments we are making when the budget is passed. We're saying, we're seeing a lot of recurring expenses, but we don't see any direct investment into the country. So where is the money going into developing the country directly instead of buying stationaries and computers? So if they want to spend $10 million in transforming our rural community, how the faces in our rural community, that's good. Put in the budget. Let us see it and be happy about it. Probably that may carry the budget to $1 billion instead of hiding it on the side. Another thing is that, Dennis, when you tell the goat where it's be fasting, even the goat talking, you think they're chewing cassava leaf. And I think that's what President Boka is doing here. We have all the reason to accuse him because his mouth is chewing something and he's not opening your mouth while to see what is in the mouth. So what if somebody say that 10 million, they say that 20 million, they say he loaded a job we are, he acting a job we are, we'll all believe it. We'll beat on him for it. So he has to be, he come to power with transparency and fair play and accountability, and that is in the arrest agenda. Yeah, he come back with a hand behind like bro, we're fighting back in the call it bate. You hide a hand behind you, when your man see your hand coming and you punching like what President Broka doing us. The 285 yellow machine that bate he gave us, it left in the water. The 300 buses from Ghana, bate, it left in the water. He just draw a hand and he punched us. We see where the punch coming from, President Boyka and your advisors, economic advisors. Look, look, I won't say old man, but I will say this: President Boyka is going to not perform successfully if you are not honest with the president, telling President Boyka this is how it's supposed to be done. I can challenge a lot of the guys who are on who may listen to this after this broadcast or listening now. President Boyka did not even hear all of the campaign rhetoric that were pushed on Spoon Network by Fatika then and all the other guys then, Eugene Fagon. He probably never heard all those stuff. He heard just few because he didn't have time to keep up with the social media rhetoric. The guys who understood what the arguments were against the CDC administration should be the one to tell President Boyka, these are things we criticize. Let us be more transparent so that the people see us fit to govern tomorrow if we have to go for another election. It's sad, right? I noticed that Daniel Sando talk about this thing. He said, oh, he put on ECOWAS. ECOWAS had to come out, Dennis, with official statement to say we have nothing to do with our property. For that information to have come from the Ministry of from the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, the mouthpiece of the government, and then our regional body, sub-regional body have come and say, yeah, and say no, we have nothing to do. That speaks badly about the government. Very bad. And then that one will come with Glady and say, listen, that is wrong. It's wrong. And I would say to President Polytechnic, why is the asset recovery team not in Lofa right now, in Foyah right now, investigating this thing to recover this asset? Why? Why is the asset recovery team not in Foyah right now, investigating to recover the asset? Why is the LACC not in Lofa right now, investigating this? Because the government has not given a clear explanation for this investment. Why are they not there? It goes back to what I normally would say. President Polytechnic lacks the leadership. He has made our integrity institutions powerless. He threatened them from the very start. Now they are toothless bulldog.
Thank you.
No.
Hold on, Ellis. I want to conclude on this, Ellis. What if all this is true? What should be done? And what if it's a lie? What should be done?
First of all, that's what I was going to say. If it's true, nothing should be done. I don't know why we are being so apoplectic when it comes to this issue. The reality is that most of our presidents, from Tubman to his nice oceanside, villa in, I think, Harper, to President Tolbert, his mentor residence. President Charles Taylor had a farm in Arlington, or they call it Arlington. Dole was trying to build a house in Tucson. Most presidents build homes mostly in their traditional, homes in their counties or whatever. President's trying to build a home. He can afford it. He's the president.
Where the money comes from?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. Look, Mr. Jai, if your credit score is an F in Liberia and you become president tomorrow, your credit score will be A+.
Should it matter? What if the money is stolen?
That's what you're asking that question. But I'm trying to tell you, it's not unfeasible that the president can afford it. That's the point that I'm making to you, right? The simple tell you that the president has told us he's been living on loans. So if he took $3 million from a bank to go build a home in Foyah, he can do that. Nobody is telling you that he stole money. The same argument that people use against President Weah is the same argument they want us to use against this president. And I'm going to be principled and tell you that I'm not going to make that argument. Because when you're president of the Republic of Liberia, base salary alone, over 6 years is going to be in the millions of dollars, let alone your benefits.
Less than 2 years.
Say that again?
It's less than 2 years.
Yeah, boy, people take loans against their salaries all the time. It's a practice in Liberia. He can afford to build this property. Unless somebody can pinpoint to us and tell us that this is where he stole the money from and he went and built his villa, then it's a crime, or this is a scandal. It's not a scandal. He's a multimillionaire as it stands right now as president of our country. He can build a house. He can build a villa in his hometown in Foyah. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't see why we're angry about this.
This is Maga's mother, Mr. Leon, and the same argument, right? He said he took the money against his salary, but let's leave it at that. We're hoping that the government will be transparent about this. Let's know about this villa. If that's where you want to live, after your presidency, that's fine. But let's know what's going on with it and don't keep it hush hush.
And if he's a multimillionaire, he has money, he should not be embarrassed to spend his money. He should be public about it.
And declare your
No, but that's his personality. He's always been a quiet old man, like a cat, right? He whipping
We need to know.
We shouldn't forget there's an asset declaration that says President Polytechnic is not a millionaire. You don't forget.
Look,
there's an asset declaration that says he's not a millionaire.
Dennis, this is just to show you that how our leaders don't care. And like Glenn said earlier, we saw the misery at the University of Liberia, and you are taking $10 million to invest it in a presidential villa, and we know it's the Liberian people money that he took. It's not his money. Now, because we have normalized this way of doing things, everybody will do it because there's no consequence. Nobody is calling it out. So everybody thinks whoever become president, he or she is entitled to build whatever retreat, presidential villa, however you want to call it. Meanwhile, something as vital as the University of Liberia is lying in ruin. Nobody cares. but they can afford to build $10 million worth of presidential villa. What does this say about us as a nation? It doesn't look good at all. And yet we are crying how the country is poor, things are hard, and you have the president who hasn't even been in power for 2 years. He's building $10 million worth of presidential villa. It doesn't look good at all.
Even
I think the net is frozen.
I know, right?
Glenny, you can take over. You've been moderating a lot, so you know how to do it. Go ahead.
No, I think Mr. Salif is done. I think Dennis was saying that we should end. Dennis, are you back? No, he's still frozen. But that,
well, let's keep talking then.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Right. So sorry about that. I'm in my sub headquarters. So connection is not good, and I'm not getting paid. Some people building villa. I can't even afford to pay my mortgage. But anyway.
And the thing is, I don't see any point of argument that Elvis is making. If the money is his money, why hide it? That's the thing. Be transparent. Once he's transparent, if you are not president and you want to be private, that's fine. But once you are public servant, especially the president of the country, whatever you do, the public needs to know.
The member vice president, he been farming, bombing. Nobody knew about it. And I what I love about him, he's a low-key kind of guy. He's not ostentatious. He doesn't show his wealth. What are you doing now?
It's public money. Public. We financing everything that he's doing now. So we should know. But let's move on to welcoming president, which caused a lot of noise the last time. Former president, was getting back to Liberia. President Walker had, probably not the same number of people, but he had the same welcome. So that is. But next thing that I also saw is it's becoming a pattern now that when the president comes, we have a Thanksgiving service paid for by us, right? Faith is personal, right? If the president comes and wants to thank God, I think that he should, just like Jesus said, go in your closet, right? Don't stand in street corners and stop blasting. But this is how do you look at this whole idea of Thanksgiving service? Our president being a deacon, do you think it works and there's costs associated with this thing? Do you think, we as a country, every time we have the president coming back from a trip, we should host a Thanksgiving service to thank God and church, right? I don't know if, Thanksgiving service, I think President Salif did those two. We just seen it kind of happening a little fast now. Glenn, what do you make of this Thanksgiving service? You from Effort? You from the Baptist church too?
Yeah, I'm from Effort. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was even surprised I saw Effort and I shouldn't go there. But
the President Church.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, I don't think the I'm a Christian, so, but and my opinion is not going to say that I don't believe that people should pray, but I don't understand what is the need for the prayer service every time he returns. The pastor can go pray for him. Pastor Langford can go pray for him at his home. Why every time he goes out and return, there needs to be a prayer and Thanksgiving service. We thank God that the president is safe, but I don't think there's a need for that.
Stan Waller says it's a very old tradition.
It's a useless tradition. Very useless tradition. It should not be used. We're not. What is the need for it? God can hear our prayer wherever we are. So it doesn't take, yes, if he was sick, something happened, fine. And you want to galvanize the people, if you want to do prayer and Thanksgiving once a month, that's fine. But for every time the president leaves to go outside the country, when he returns, there's a prayer service, I don't think that's justified. That's why you have a religious advisor. He can go to the house and pray. Reverend Langford, who is the pastor of Effort and is the legal advisor, I'm going to be in trouble, but I'm going to say how I think it. He should go to President Boykott's house and pray for him when he returns. We should not be having a prayer and Thanksgiving service every time the president returns. No.
Actually,
And
this is a
separation
violation.
of church and state. You think this will fall in that bucket that we are not separating church and state?
Absolutely, and it's a violation of the Constitution. But you see, when you talk about this, particularly in this manner, a lot of people will not understand it, and they will view it entirely through religious lens, and not think of the politics of it. I mean, if he can do this in his private capacity, nothing wrong with that. But why involve the national resource? What I mean, again, like I said, this is a clear violation of the separation of the church and state. Because I mean, I remember many years ago, somebody wrote an article about how the Liberian government, before we start any meeting or any function, we have to pray. And what is the essence of that? Now, and if you look at that, a lot of people, including some people on this platform tonight, would think that we need that because we need God in our presence. But the Constitution is very clear in terms of separating the church from the state. And so we have come to normalize all these things, and in the process, they have whether intentional or not, they have marginalized some group of Liberians, because if they are doing this, they're only doing it only in the churches that they are affiliated with. So what happened with the other people? Has he ever said, okay, let's go to the mosque and let the imams pray for him too? I mean, if it comes to that. But that's not the case. But again, like I said, then we as people and government, we have come to normalize all these violations as normal. So nobody calls it out. Nobody, and especially when most of the people claim to be religious, because of that religiousness, they see it as normal and acceptable, even though it's a clear violation of the Constitution.
Thank you, Mr. Dr. Pearson. Do you think there's a cost associated with it? There is a cost associated with this, but is this a big deal? Or the president is a Christian? I'm looking at, he's the president of all Liberia, right? Yeah. So even those who don't believe the Bible, those who are Buddhists, those who are traditional African spirituality, all these people, they're part of the country. So if he's going to church all the time, sometimes, and that's why I was watching a film and they say, and the person said, white people don't understand racism because it doesn't affect them here in America. So if you try to talk about it, they don't. But the people that are not part of the church, and as a country, we have to foot the bill for the president to go to this Thanksgiving service. Is this necessary?
Thank you, Venice. I think this is a very dedicated matter, but this is how I address it, right? It's easy to just see the presidency as a political office alone, a governance office, and forget the individual. So we should take into account that even though the president may be carrying the title President of the Republic of Liberia, he is an individual. He has his own preferences as well. And so, like Sim Wallace said, and I agree with him, this is not new. I think one person who was very bold in addressing this one time in my presence in Liberia was Charles Taylor. They brought up argument about him going to church and stuff like that. So he said, but then it doesn't matter. So let's do it away. When having program, Muslim open the prayer, Christian close it, right? So we started seeing that happening. Muslim can pray from the beginning of the program off, and then maybe Christian pray from the beginning, Muslim pray to the end. The man got went into it, he may said dark banana. He said, okay, now so too, right? So he called across every group, like he's like, I'm president for the entire country. But again, I think the individual preference is something to take into consideration because
What is that individual preference?
President Boyka is a deacon in the Baptist church, and he feels comfortable to give God thanks for his travel from abroad. He should be allowed to have that individual part of his life fulfilled as well.
What you call it individual? That's the part I want to get.
So for example, if you had Dukle as president of Liberia and he had a religious feeling or attachment towards going to having his imam pray with him, he will do so. Be it whether calling the imam to his house or going to the mosque, that would be his discretion. I'm not disputing that, but that would be his discretion. And that would be a personal discretion based upon his personal preferment in that situation. So we shouldn't bash the president to say that because he is president and public money is associated with his activity, he cannot do some things that are personal to him. I think it's based on his conviction he will do that. What I would say to the conversation in this regard is that, again, then let it be clear to where someone said, then don't only leave it to your church alone, because then I will start to feel funny. So if you want to be a religious president, you want to respect religion, so why will you pass all the churches along here at Junction, including Man Church, and go way to the Baptist Church on Gontan Bar Road, not going to Bar Abitable Road, 10 out of 10 times, right? Why didn't you use other churches as well? So the mosque is not open every hour like the churches will be open every Sunday, but why if you decide to go to the mosque on a Friday and to just pray and have a time with the people at the mosque, whatever the mosque may be? I mean, you have to be generous how you give feedback to your people in response to their concerns. So I think it's just a matter of the individual. And don't forget, Dennis, our money also used with the Freemasons. Our president is part of the Freemasons. The Freemason is deeply rooted in the Baptist church. They're too getting money. They are getting jobs in our government. If you're not a Freemason, you can better get a job. If you don't throw the sun, a bug out they can throw. So it's cut across all areas. So it's just not one Christian alone.
But that's the crux of the matter, right? Because we have people who don't even believe God. They are in a place there. So if we want to address it from the biblical standpoint, right? Those are the people, let's say President Boyka is a deacon, you have to do his Christian duties. Sunday, President Boyka going to his church, nobody's against that. You know, already there's time taken away from work. And sometimes when we are quantifying costs, we don't look at the opportunity cost. So that's another layer that has been added, that when you come from anywhere, go to your church, you know, and have a Thanksgiving service. Where do we start? What if is he also prepared to go to the another religion called Niji Society? Is he prepared to go there?
Again, that's what
but Dr. Piercy is
individual preferment.
Right.
But Dr. Piercy, you're even contradicting yourself. You're saying on one side that it's okay for him to do it, and then you're also saying, well, he can also do it at the place he wants to do it. He wants to do it at the church. But then you're saying, well, if he wants, it's his preference. So if it's his preference, then let him do it at the house. Don't stay why you're not going to other churches, why he didn't go to your church. So if you're saying it should be his preference, he should be allowed to do what he wants to do religiously, then he chooses to go to his church. You should not have a problem with him doing it at his church.
Okay, so maybe Jeff, 10 seconds. I don't have problem with him.
The 10 seconds. Where do we draw the line for his preferences?
Yeah.
Dennis,
he has other preferences.
Dennis, the president seeking prayer is his personal preference. And
he's not seeking prayer.
He's not seeking prayer.
The president seeking prayer is a personal preference. I'm using prayer in particular because that's what it's about. So I will say this again, Glennie. I'm not saying I'm judging him for going to a particular church. I'm saying it will be to his benefit if he's more considerate, right? In as much as he want to address that part of his person, it will be more considerate on his part to be more flexible as to what churches he will go to feed that part of his personal preference. But we cannot stop it. I see no harm in that.
Okay, and that's what Sam Wallow is asking. Sam Wallow doesn't, everything what President Boyka does is from God. So we get a pattern from Sam Wallow now. But the harm is if you are using state resources, if you are segregate, you are not going to the Baha people place to thank God. You are the president for all. And this is not a state function. It's just because you prefer to do it. So tomorrow, if you want to play, if you want to play, since I come from Dodokan, I want to go there to dance talk club. Then you follow me because that's my preference. Alice, what you think?
Even Donald Trump played golf, then it's a personal preference. Donald Trump played golf, cost him millions of dollars for the
golf, they say, because he's an outlier, so I don't want to talk about him. But that golf supposed to be like his holiday.
You also know about what Barack Obama can do personally, right? And I don't want to go there because those are different cases in our.
Yeah. So, but we have a case where we make it standard now that when you come from anywhere, you go to the church. That's why even the resources that we waste and the time that we waste. People taking national exam that holiday. Nobody go to school for that whole week. They taking national exam. If when they give you job, the first time you have a service, you have some program, they call it, our own man, Josiah Joker, had a big program just to start working because they give you a job. In fact, what they're doing now, your day of confirmation, that's another program. The people line up. This is a country, it's like we don't really have much to do, so we just play. Alice, your take.
Well, religious issues are personal issues. And as I said before, the president has the right to seek divinity at any time. But if it is going to take away resources from the state, then I think he should do it on a personal level. He can travel when he comes back, go to his residence and call his pastor, can pray for him. If he wants to say once in a month or once in a year, we have Thanksgiving prayers. They can do that. But to travel and every time he comes back when they got to go to the church, I think it's a little bit too much because we know he's a Christian like everybody else, or like most people in Liberia. But when you are president, you have to balance in a way that other people will not feel outcast. Because when you are going to the church, guess what? If you have Buddhists in your government, they might not go to the church, or if they are not people that can go to church, they might not go there. So they are being left out. So I feel the president going to his residence and having his pastor praying for him, that's okay. Or once in a while going to the church, that's fine. But every time he travels and come back to go to the church for Thanksgiving, I think a little bit too much. And if it's going to take resources from the state, then I think it has to be curtailed because there are many other things you can put money in than Thanksgiving service. It doesn't make anybody Christian to go to church and have Thanksgiving every day. God looks at your heart. And if people that, in the government are not dispensing justice the way they should be doing, then going to Thanksgiving every day is meaningless. So we have to improve on what we do to the people. Then that's how we show that we are Christians.
All right. Alice is jumping in the scripture now. Even if you come, I think you wait for Sunday and you go to the Sunday
You go to the Sunday church.
and then you can thank God. And that's why Jimmy Swagger was preaching in those days when we're all big, Jimmy Swagger. Jimmy Swagger said, we put God too much in the church. But when I'm eating, there is Jesus. When I'm in the kitchen, there is Jesus. When I'm at my farm, there is Jesus. So there's Jesus everywhere. So we can
everywhere.
Wait. And Jesus confronted those people during his days. The Pharisees used to stand in the street corner to pray so that everybody would see how religious they were. And Jesus said, if you read Matthew chapter 5, he said, they do this. Even when they're giving somebody something they want to show off. He said, but when you pray, go in your closet. Nobody should know, right? So President Bwaka coming every time going to these things, I think he's showing off. Besides,
Dennis, you can't say that, man.
Hold on, I mean,
when Jesus went to the temple and left a man and ran off from a man and stayed overstay, he took God being too much.
No, I didn't say too much. I didn't say. Jesus said when you pray, Jesus set the standard of what we should do. Jesus looked at someone like President Bwaka coming every time going to the church, say, "You can't let thank God." Jesus said, "No, this is not the way to do it."
But then that's not true. Then that's not true. Jesus never said that.
Jesus said it.
No, Dennis. No, I disagree.
Matthew chapter 5. Read from. That's why at the end he said, "But when you pray, this is what you should do. Our Father, which art in heaven," and then he started giving them that model. So all that is laid down. Read
the old man mental health, you playing with the leader old man mental health. Let the old man go to church and feel free.
No, we are not saying don't go to church. But we don't have already. You took almost a month out. You know, when are you going to go to work? Right? But Evans, let me hear your thoughts. You know.
All right. Look, I think sometimes we conflict the issue of, separating church and state. That's talking about the church imposing a particular religion, favoring a particular religion over other religion, and imposing that.
A good word. So when you come, you go to church, you are favoring Christianity or church.
The state, Mr. Jah, the president is an individual. All right? He is a Christian man. He's a deacon in Ethel Baptist, right?
Nobody's stopping from going to his church.
Mr. Jah, please. Everybody talk. I didn't say anything.
No, but
my point here.
I have the right. Go ahead.
Sorry, sir. Go ahead. It's your platform. The point that I'm making is that the president has a.
It's not about being platform. It's your platform too.
Yeah, the president has a budget for presidential affairs, right? It's about the affairs of the president. If he's going to the zoos to go visit them, and he wants to carry some, some how you call it, things like cola nuts, and some other things to go and meet them and greet them. There's budget in there for him to do such a thing. If he wants to go visit the mosque and go say hi to the imams, that budget is also allocated for that. If he wants to go to a church and have a prayer meeting with his fellow congregants, that part of that budget is there for it. It's just so happened that he's a Christian, so if he wants to go to Ethel Baptist and go to Pastor Lanford so he can pray for him for the successful trip, he can do that. He is not doing anything that's taking away the rights of other religions. He's not doing that. All right. So this idea that some of us Christians will try to bend over backwards to try to appease other religions is ridiculous in my point of view. He's a Christian. He's been a Christian his whole life. He'll die a Christian. The people of Liberia elected him knowing he was a Christian. They didn't think he was some kind of Muslim or some kind of person who doesn't have a faith or is interfaith. He's a Christian. If there's a Muslim president tomorrow, I guarantee you, most Fridays you'll probably go to the mosque to pray. Well, we say she shouldn't be allowed to do that because he's using gas that the taxpayer paying to take him to the mosque to go pray. Of course not. He's a Muslim. That's his religion. And as a president, you shouldn't be barred from having the freedom to practice your religion. That's one of the things. So the president is doing nothing wrong here. He's not somebody that's taking any rights away from Muslims. He's not taking state resources and giving it all to the church and depriving Muslims from anything. No, it's not the case. If he goes to the church, he's not like anybody can prove to us that he's paying the $10,000 from the president budget every time he goes there. It's not true. Yes, the same way he used to go to church on a Sunday when he wasn't president, it's the same way he can go there and people will gather around him. It's probably more packed now than before because he's president and pray and people will pray for him or whatever. But he's not taking anything away from anybody. He's not impeding on the rights of other, minority religion in the country. So please, let's not do that. And lastly, look, when people talk about how, he shouldn't use taxpayer money for doing too many Thanksgiving services, like Mr. Sam Waller was saying. I hate this. I'm a strong proponent of people having the right to practice their religion, even if I disagree with it. I would stand for that right for anybody to practice any religion that they want. But let's not forget the foundation of our country, right? And Mr. Sam Waller was saying that in the comment. This is a fact. We can't escape the fact. It's history. The country was built on Christian principles, and people, as a tradition, has been having Thanksgiving services for generations. So far, we haven't had a Muslim president. It's possible we may have a Muslim president one day, and we'll see how how that president will lead as a Muslim. for most Christian president, as all, maybe if not, maybe almost close to all, has been Christian. They always have Thanksgiving, services. Pastors always offer them prayer, and so on and so forth. It's a tradition.
Let me ask you this: what level of Thanksgiving services to you will be too much? Will be superfluous?
Again, you have to look at the cost, because here we're talking about state resources.
Let's say the minute God is, even the air we breathe, that's God, right? So God is doing wonder for us every day. What would be too much for the president to have Thanksgiving service to thank God for all the blessings that God is giving him? Maybe every week, every day, every month.
Mr. John, let's not do that. Let's not be philosophical and hypothetical, right? My point here is that the president is a Christian.
You can't answer that.
No. Let me answer it. The point here is, again, I don't want to go into the religion thing, because then I'll say some things people will get offended. But certain people, when they go on a trip, let's say they go to Mecca and they come back, they have to kill cow, they have to do some kind of sacrifice, they got to do some kind of Thanksgiving ceremony for that. If they travel abroad and they come back for a safe trip, they have to do some kind of sacrifice for that. If the president travels to the United Nations and you feel like he had a successful, healthy trip, he can go to the church, or people can come and gather around him and pray for the successful trip, for God protecting him and bringing him back safely.
Nobody is saying we have a National Thanksgiving Day, we have Fast and Prayer Day, nobody is saying the president can attend those. I'm not saying the president cannot attend his Sunday service. I'm not saying that, right? What we're saying is every time he returns from anywhere, he go to the church to give thanks using state resources. I'm saying, how many Thanksgiving services will be too much? The day he wake up in the morning, because God is so good that he woke up. Should we have Thanksgiving service every week, every month? Which one will be too much?
That's what I'm saying, Mr. John. Right, you're trying to take away his right. He has a right to be a Christian, to practice his religion. If he wants to go to revival on a Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, he has that right. Why are we trying to take it away just to appease other people? I don't understand that. What are we doing here? He's the president. Well, how much money can you prove that he's paying every time he goes to a Thanksgiving service that's taken away from the coffers of the country?
Thank you.
Or should we have that with Christians because we're scared of other people, that we're trying to appease them? He's a Christian. Let him be a Christian. You'll be a Christian for 6 years. You'll have 20, 50 in the Thanksgiving service. There's nothing you can do about it. He's a Christian. You'll be a Christian. Come on, man.
Thank you. Don't get too
No, because it's like, what are we bending over backwards? The man's a Christian, like everywhere. Elected him a Muslim, elected him as a Christian, as a deacon. They know he's a Christian and a deacon. What are we going to do?
You're doing too much. We are not stopping the man from going to church. We're not stopping from.
You keep saying how much is too much. How much is too much? The other people complaining. Who cares about the other people? He's a Christian. He's the president.
But the Arab people got an opinion too, just like you now.
I got my opinion. I say my opinion.
But then don't condemn the other people's opinion.
I'm not condemning anybody's opinion. I'm just speaking.
What your opinion is.
Yeah, because who's offended by it? Watara in Ivory Coast, when it's Ramadan, he posts it all over. He's giving people cow and tine. Dumbuya in Guinea, they're doing the same thing. So what are you talking about? You want Muslim president? Go vote for Muslim president. See how do we behave as your president? Go vote for Muslim president.
If we do it and we find it to be wrong, we will say it also. If we find it to be too many times, we will also say that. If Joseph Berger needs prayer, every time he returns a pastor, he has religious advisors. They can go to the house and pray for him there. You don't
decide how the president practices.
Well, that's your opinion. I'm giving mine. You already gave yours. You don't see anything wrong with it. I do. So I'll speak what I see. The fact that every time he's coming and has to go to a church for a service, I think it's a waste of time. If he needs prayers and Thanksgiving, it can be done to his house. It's just that simple. You agree where he can go there.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to join the conversation, we have a few more minutes to be here. Call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. The country is not just divided into Muslim and Christian. There are people there who are other religions. People are Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, but we don't hear them crying, boy, all the time. No, we don't hear them crying, boy.
No, it's not about cry. There are people who are traditional African spiritualists. So do not just limit this country to Christian Muslims. We have atheists.
Then that's a slippery slope you're going on there. That progress is because
Right.
Liberians are never given money to go to Israel to go do holy trip, but we give money every year for Muslims to go do the Hajj. We give money every year to break the Ramadan fast. So that's a slippery slope. Religion
Dr.
is
Pearson, you hit the nail on the head.
But you also have a lot of Christian holidays that Muslims don't have. You have a lot of holidays that you celebrate that Muslims don't have.
It's a slippery slope. Let's move on.
I'm just saying, if you're saying that there are a lot of holidays that Christians are allowed to celebrate that Muslims don't have.
It's a slippery slope.
Mr. Pearson, let us not just think about religion. Also think productivity.
The thing that Dr. Pearson, but the thing that Dr. Pearson is talking about, it's not mandated by law. It's something that the president do on their own personal volition. It's not required. He or she is not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to give money for people to go to Hajj. They're not supposed to give money for people to break their fast. There's no law that says that. That's something that they do as individual.
Right. So you budget what I'm saying. So the president practice of religion is personal. Yeah, leave it like that. Let us move.
No. But you did mention that they give money to go to Hajj and they give money for breaking up the fast. That's something that the president does based on his personal volition. It's not required by law. He or she is not even. They're not even supposed to be doing that.
Thank you. At this time, we don't have a caller, so we're going to be wrapping up. We have other topics, but we are we are 6 minutes out of time. So we're going to go around the room. We talk about the rape cases. We talk about the presidential villa in Foyah, and then the presidential Thanksgiving services. Dr. Pearson, let me start with you. You're closing.
Yeah, Dennis, I think rape is a troubling issue in Liberia, and I should state clearly that how we handle these cases should be transparent, and the law should apply to everyone. Those who are in jail right now for accusation of rape without any hearing in court or charge of court, and they've been there for over 6 months, a year, are no less important in Liberia than those who are in government who are charged or accused of rape. I would say if the government have any rape allegations, rape is easy to investigate in terms of the evidence, but it is difficult for us because we may not have the equipment and the wherewithal to get it done properly. So I would say if anybody is accused of rape, they should be detained. I agree with everybody else, but there should be speedy investigation for the initial evidence, and if there's enough evidence to be prosecuted with President Boyka, whatever they charge him of in Lofa. I think anywhere in Liberia should be developed because we're way behind, but let us be transparent about it. And then on the issue about the president giving, it's a personal issue, and we shouldn't make a big deal about it. The president may have a psychological reason for which he finds himself going to seek prayer after his travel. Let us leave it to him. He has to be mentally fit to serve. Thank you.
Alex?
I think it's important for government to pay more attention to balance everything that is done when it comes to rape. I know there are two different things that happen. Some people get lied upon and accused of rape when they are not even rapists. And there are other people that do commit rape. And so government should make sure that those who are accused and there's evidence, because they got clinics where they send these people, make sure when you have a positive result that these people are arrested, and don't play blind eye on other cases while prosecuting other cases. And those who are in jail, make sure that you take them to trials, 5 months, 6 months, for something that they are not guilty of. It's not fair. They need to, because there are other people that contacted me telling me that they've been in jail for 5 months, 6 months now for something they never did. So we should make sure that justice is served equitably.
Thank you. We have one caller before we close here. Caller, your name and where you're calling from.
Yeah, I'm Elbani Mame, and I call from California. And I want to say thank you for the topics you guys are discussing. It's so interesting.
Go ahead, Mame.
Yeah, so when it comes to rape, the issue of rape, I work with the Ministry of Gender, and I work with the Independent National Commission on Human Rights. The issue of rape As a matter of law, statutory rape is a non-billable offense, and when it is the law, when the law makes it a non-billable offense, when a person is accused of rape, the first thing that happens is the person is arrested and they are detained, and then the evidence against the person will be adduced while the person is still in detention. Like Glendy said, she was right. You don't have to be a lawyer to know, especially when you were around when Ellen was in power. Immediately you are accused. The reason for that law was to punish harshly those who were involved in raping kids. So it was so prevalent to the point where the president said, okay, you know what? This crime will be non-billable as an exception to all other laws. We know the due process law, it goes strictly against due process, but that was meant to punish people harshly for the prevalence of the rape cases in Liberia at the time. And that particular law is still on the book. So this thing that is going on in the Joseph Burger regime is a selective justice where people are accused of rape, some of them go home, and then other people, common people, are held in custody. The issue about religious practices, the president, what Dennis Jha said is true. That is the behavior of the Pharisees. If you are a religious president, go to your church on Sunday and worship your Lord. And do it in silence. Do it in your closet. That's what the Bible says. And I know for sure, because I'm a Christian and I go to church. My parents are Muslims. Not only that, I got relatives that are from different sects and different religious practices. So if you want to, I'm very apprehensive of a president who will go and use religion like a trophy. Go to you worshiping God, worship God in silence, and that's what the Bible says. So everything that the president is doing every day, he comes out and pretends like he's going to worship God. Where it is constitutional in our country, we celebrate with Christian holidays by proclamation, by constitution. Islamic holidays are not celebrated by any means. If you give free donation to them to go and celebrate Hajj, there are a lot of money that they throw around to Christian places, Christian schools, and different religious practices like Thanksgiving Day and all the different celebrations. They spend money, but
which holiday in Liberia is a Christian holiday?
That shut down on Sunday. How many times you see that done on Friday? So I'm a Christian, but I'm totally not in favor of that proliferation of church visits by the president every now and then.
Which holiday is a Christian holiday?
That Christian principle thing is not in our constitution. Our constitution says we are a secular nation. So for that reason, the president.
1 second. Which holiday in Liberia is a Christian holiday?
Thank you. Hold on. Bible says, by their fruit we shall know them. We want to see most of our religious people bearing fruits instead of every day, speaking in tongues. My pastor used to say, it's not how high you jump when you are in the spirit, but how straight you walk when you touch the ground. Elvis, you're closing.
No sound.
All right, thank you. Look, when it comes to the president villa, all the rumors being $10 million, whatever, I don't see anything wrong with it. If a wheelbarrow boy become president today in Liberia, he becomes insanely wealthy. He becomes capable of building almost any home in the country because he's the president. I think our president gets paid like something like $275,000, if not more, per year times 6. Plus all the other benefits that he's getting. So he can build a villa in Foyah if he wants to. No bank in that country now, if you went there and say I want to borrow $3 million, will turn him down. It's not illegal. He hasn't done anything illegal. People can not like the optics of it, but so far I don't think it's illegal. And I don't support this president, as all of you may know. The second part of it is the religious part. I'm passionate when it comes to my religion, and I fight for my religion. Anytime anybody want to disparage it, I stand up and I fight for it. President Boyga is a Christian. He said it. People voted for him knowing that. My mother, who went to the same church as President Boyga, got married in Upper Baptist Church. Pastor Lanford, his sister Eugenia, they're all very close family friends of mine. So I know that church very well. Same thing with First Baptist on a long time background. I went to that church. I was in that same church with Charles Taylor one time. So all of our presidents in the country has been Christian. If they like to go to church on a Sunday, they like to show that they're Christian. Most Muslims, most other religions go to their services on Fridays and other days to show that they're part of that religion. They also have religious right to practice their religion without being impeded. Being president don't stop you from being a Christian. If you're somebody that go to church on Sunday, you'll go to church on Sunday when you become a president. If you're somebody that like to go to prayer, fast and prayer meeting on a Friday, you'll do that when you're president. The Constitution doesn't take away your rights to practice your religion in full as you see fit. So thank you for the show. It was a great show. And thank God for President Boyka for coming back and having a safe trip.
Thank you. Wendy?
So let me just say here that my father was also a Baptist preacher. I used to be married to one. I grew up in Effort Baptist Church, migrated to First Baptist Church, Otis, Concotown. I was a Baptist from birth, born and raised in the church. Now I'm a member of Ebenezer Community Church in Minneapolis. President Boyka is a Christian. We know that. We're not taking that away from him. President Boyka has religious advisors. We're fully aware. Very Langford, pastor from Effort, is his spiritual advisor. President Boyka does not need every time he returns from America or wherever to go to the church to have a Thanksgiving service. That has nothing to do with him practicing his religious activities. It doesn't mean that every time he wants to pray and give God thanks or returning safely, that there has to be a prayer service. There can also be a prayer service in his home. What we're saying is minimize the number of times that is being held. If you really must do it, it doesn't have to be flamboyant. Why is it necessary to show off at a prayer service to give God thanks and praise? Before you even learn that God already blessed him. I'm being very serious about it. Doesn't have to go to the church to have a whole service, a full service, and take away people. And also there has to be funding and different things going on from the government. He can pray at home. We thank God for always keeping our president safe. But this thing where every time that he returns, there has to be a service at Effort Baptist Church needs to stop. It's not necessary. The pastor can go pray for the president to his house. I think we've talked a lot about the statutory rape, and the caller who came on also, when I heard about this is what I do. I'm not a lawyer, but anytime something happens that has to do with the law, I can go read to get clarity. My father, peace be to wherever he is, really wanted me to do law, but he didn't get to see that.
Heaven. We know where he is.
Yes, he didn't get to see that. But I always try they say he used to say, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So get familiar with it and learn it. That deputy minister of youth and sports should be in jail. He should still be detained right now, whether he at the prison, whether he at the police station. He should not be outside walking free. He's been accused of rape of a minor. The law says you hold him. You find the evidence to take it to trial. You go to trial. If he's not guilty, you release him. That's what the law says. The justification has to stop. When you see government officials going out and debating it, it says a lot about the government. That's not correct. You can't go and misinterpret the law and then you want other people, and the law only works for some people. It doesn't work for government officials. It shouldn't happen. It should work for everybody the same. Whether Todd Tobotan, Charles Taylor or Ellen Johnson Sirleaf time.
Or Dotan.
Thank you. It should work for everybody the same. This thing where we only want to fit a scenario for a certain group of people, and then because, and let me just say, I supported Joseph Boyka. I still do support him as a president. But when we do something, when things are not done correctly, we have to be objective. And we got to speak truth to power. That's just what it is. And the fact that even President Boyka has not weighed in on this, maybe it not be his issue, but he should say something. He should say something about it. This rape thing needs to stop in Liberia already. And I heard Dr. Pierce, I didn't want to talk about the gender people. A different story for a different day for that gender ministry people. Because there's so much that they can be doing. They're doing nothing, in my opinion. So it's a useless ministry. They should close it down. completely. They're not doing anything. They're gender ministry. They're causing more trauma than good. But anyway, Dennis, it was good to be back here tonight. I've been away for a long time, but I think it was a great show. And then last thing I want to say, the one thing I like, I kind of admired and don't admire Sam Wallow. He complains all the time, but he's the only one writing the most in the feed. Not a good show, but he will be here next week. Sam Wallow, I wanted to give you that highlight.
No, Sam Wallow, we can't do this show without Sam Wallow. The last time he was not here, we don't know what happened. We miss him so much.
I know, but we need him.
He takes the opposite side, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
And Glennie talking about prayer, you don't know how many times I have prayed since the show started. First, I pray when we're starting. I pray in the middle.
Thank you.
Pray, I keep praying because the Bible says pray without ceasing.
Pray without.
So by the time the plane lands, because I gave the plane, pray. When it lands, you thank God. By the time you get to your house, you thank God. Nobody, even when I'm driving, I thank God. But if you show too much, we want fruits now. We want fruits. We're tired with this religious thing. People wear religion on their sleeves, but and the Bible addressed all these things. He said when the people during those days, during the days of Prophet Joel, people when they want to repent, they wear sackcloth, they tear their clothes. You know what the prophet said? He said, "Rend your heart, not your garment. That your heart you should tear, not your garment." When people want to, the Bible says, like what we saw here, somebody go to a place and say, "Oh, I hate my enemies. I don't want the best for them." The Bible says, love your enemies and do good to those that persecute you. So how do you turn and say that person is a Christian? Oh, Duke, you didn't know I eat Bible? You're closing.
Yeah, Dennis,
Very Dennis.
In my household, I have a lawyer in my household. My eldest daughter is the lawyer, and she has her first degree as a social worker. And it was just during one of her practicum. She used to spend most of her time in the court, and the practicum was with an organization. We call them the Aboriginal organization, and the case were being postponed, and every time it's postponed, the individual is returned to prison until the next scheduled hearing. And so it was from that, the way she saw the people being marginalized, being treated. One day she came home and said to me, "Dad, I want to go to law school." This was around middle of July. By the time we came to the end of August, she said that I've been admitted to the law school in Moncton, in New Brunswick. And so her motivation was to see injustice being applied to Aboriginal. And my wife is also a victim of rape during the Liberian civil crisis. So I do have a personal reasons that make me to feel for victims of rape. It feels as if the laws are now deterring these people who are committing these heinous crimes. And the law is very clear. Why is the government unable to enforce the law that is on the book, especially for statutory rape? So, we should not stop talking about it. We should not relent, because this is what that is going to lead us to where we don't want to be. So if the government is not doing what they're supposed to do, we need to hold their feet to the fire, and so justice needs to be served. We know, not because this person is connected, this person has influence in the society and all that. So Sister Alice just said that she knows people who are languishing in prison for I don't know how many months.
Oh, yeah.
with nothing. I mean, they are not any less important than those guys who are in power. So we need to keep talking. We need to make sure that we highlight these things. Otherwise, our society, we are heading to where we don't want to go. You know. And talking about the presidential villa in Foyah, again, until the government comes up with something to explain something, the void is going to be filled with what we are doing here, speculating, and we will speculate it to be true until they can prove to us otherwise, you know. And then it's this notion of praying for the president return again. It's the reinforcement of the injustice that is in the president and people in government not keeping with the separation of the church and the state. This is just one way to enforce that violation of our constitution. And sometimes I'm not even saying this because I'm a Muslim. No, I mean this is anybody can see it. What about people who are animists? How do you justify it to them? You know. So I mean, he can do these things in his private capacity, or he can ask his pastor to come to his house and do these prayers for him. Because look, if you notice it, when he goes to the church, all his ministers, the government officials, they all summoned to the church. So how can you say that's not official? That's not a personal capacity. Even though he's a Christian, why is he summoning his government? You know. But again, we know that no government has to abide by the separation of the church and the state. So this is just one example where the separation is not observed. Thank you for the show. It was a pleasure being here, Dennis. Thank you to my fellow panelists.
Thank you. For a long time, anytime Foyah in the news is not so good, they will say, oh, when Tamba can play that, we're in Foyah. So thank God for President Bouaka, that has changed. We now have presidential villa in Foyah.
Tamaga Palace.
In Foyah.
In Foyah.
Somebody say, oh, even when you're doing a one now Vanchman, why no decentralization, Tamba can play. That in Foyah, we can't hear that anymore.
You're just so full of it.
Ever say the president a millionaire, so he can pay it anywhere.
Yeah, no.
You don't be jealous of the president, man. He's the president.
Let me tell you the secret. All the things they accuse President Weah of, and everyone backing President Weah. He doesn't want to flip now because
he embarrassed.
No, I'm principled. I'm telling you that if, when you minister, you government official, you senator, you can borrow money from the banking Liberia.
Yeah.
So they have the means now to build those homes. That's the point I'm making.
You borrow money from the bank to build a house?
But how do we know that man stole the money? We know. We're just making an accusation blindly without knowing the facts of the case.
Quite frankly, there's an MOU on that campaign for you. There's an MOU for you.
You saw it? You saw it?
These MOU.
You saw it?
Yeah.
I'm principled, Mr. John. I'm supposed to be consistent. I will not be a hypocrite.
For President Weah, so you got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do it, I'm gonna. I know about it. So
you'll be called out.
He's not even being real. He's being facetious.
Why would you say that? The man told you better leave you alone. You think you become president and then you stop taking loans. The man taking president loans right now. More than before.
When I say what
we feel. If you remember on Tuesday, that was my birthday. Jesus was supposed to come. I don't know if you were coming for my birthday, but that was going to be the rapture. So what I've done is we're going to invite Apostle Augustine McCall so we can talk about the rapture.
Did he the one with the rapture?
Yeah.
Hey, no, let me find time to come talk to be on the show here too with the rapture here.
Oh, sorry, it's October 5, not 6. That's an error. But we'll talk about the rapture.
That's this coming Sunday, right?
If you read Matthew and they talk about the separation of the sheep from the goat. So
I hope you got it.
The wheat from the shaft.
What I even read when I was studying about this, they said they even have the pre-tribulation. They say the rapture will come before tribulation. Some say before tribulation, and some say after the tribulation. So there's a whole lot.
So
And
he's
you
gonna
know that,
clarify.
But
it was not-
he already apologized. He said the date. He chose the date, but God didn't change that date.
So we're gonna the prophet, I mean apostle, going to explain all that.
What time?
Be well,
That
for
will be
prophets.
7 o'clock this Sunday,
Oh,
right
okay.
here on the Hour of Faith.
But
Let's
Dennis,
talk about rapture, Judgment Day, and all these different things.
Dennis,
And
do you have an MOU with him?
Yeah, he does.
it's a gentleman agreement.
Good
Yeah.
night.
All right, guys.
On that note, we're going to close with our song that says, whether you are from Foyah or Dominican, we are all Liberians.
All
Have a good night, and may God bless
Thank you.
All right.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. USA, everyone. Liberia, USA, everyone. Liberia,